Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at a Nintendo Switch versus a Nintendo Switch OLED. So this is my son's OLED version of the Switch, and this is our, well, it's not the original, it's the second version, so it's the one with the slightly improved battery. And we're just going to take a quick look around the console and give our general thoughts as to what we think about, well, the two devices. So they're both Switches, and they both do exactly the same. They all play the same games, and but you do get a different experience out of both of them. So first of all, let's just take a quick look at the Switch itself. So as you can see, they pretty much look the same. There are some differences between them. So the first thing to point out is that, well, his is the OLED one.
And mine's all white.
And his is all white. So let's before we get into anything, let's turn them on. So they're both off completely. Ready?
Yep.
Right, there we go. So boot speed. Wow, mine seems to have
You started yours a bit earlier than mine. They're about the
right,
same.
so there's nothing much in it. And, well, it's just a boot speed, so they're not really a great importance, but one thing you will notice, and this is the reason why he bought this one, he's got an OLED screen, so that's quite handy. They've just shut off. So if you look around this one, this is an original Switch or a Switch V2, both are the same. You've got a real thick border around with this little tiny screen in the middle,
Which you can see when it's on or off.
Yeah.
Whereas mine's quite blended in with the screen, where
you've got this really thin border around the screen.
You can see it when I turn it on,
yeah,
better than when it's off. Whereas yours, you can tell that there's a distinct border around the screen.
So the actual body of the Switch is pretty much the same size because they take the same Joy-Cons. We did notice that the OLED version is about 2mm wider that way for the actual body, but they crammed a bigger screen into the same body. So let's just stand mine up so we can stand them together.
That's something that's different.
So you've got a big border around here of about a centimetre all the way around on the normal one, and yours is
Probably about
tiny,
3mm.
about 3mm. So it's nice that you've got a bigger screen, but without making the Switch itself bigger. As he just pointed out, the stand on the back of the regular Switch is this little, can you see it? Yeah, this little tiny stick here, which I've never been keen on. I don't think it offers the best support. It's on one side, and it just seems a little wiggly and wobbly.
And it
would have been better if it was in the middle.
Or a second one there.
Yeah, but if you look on the back of the OLED Switch, it's got this, bring it this way, it's got this huge, great panel that comes out and supports the whole back of the Switch, and his is adjustable.
So
So
put mine all the way up to that.
So if you laid yours flat down with the stand out, it's still not flat on the floor, whereas the Switch, the regular Switch, is just this little bouncy thing that is either open or shut. I don't think you've got... No, it's open or shut, so it's flat or standing up. So that is two of the biggest things that we can compare on both the Switches. Now, like I said, this is a V2 Switch, or what they call a V2. So it's got a better battery life than the first version. You get about 6 to 9 hours out of this, and you also get the same out of the OLED. The OLED should perform a little bit better because OLED screens are, they use less power. So in comparison for battery life, they're probably about the same. If you've got an original Switch, what they call a V1 Switch, you'd get about 5 to 6 hours at a push, but these two should reach sort of 8 to 9. What else can we talk about? So we've talked about the battery life, we've talked about the screen size, we'll touch a little bit on screen tech. You're not massively au fait on what OLED is.
Nope.
It's not the first console to have OLED. The original PlayStation Vita had OLED. it gives you crisper blacks and you get better viewing angles. So if you were to, I don't know if we can see it, if you go into the home screen, no, you've got a black home screen anyway, but if you've got, if you start to twist the console, my blacks should fade out and get a little grayer, whereas yours should have much better viewing angles, and the blacks will be crisper in the first place. So I don't know, I can't. We've got anything we compare on the screen. The only thing we've got is the Mario Kart. No, don't open it. Don't open it. Is the Mario Kart sort of icon. Now you can see that your screen colour is much better. Your reds are a lot richer. It's a lot darker, and when I start to twist mine, my colours fade out even more.
In what I can see, Peach at the back looks a little bit like decolorized.
Yeah.
Whereas mine's quite vibrant.
That is what OLED is about. And it is supposed to also be a lot easier on battery life. Well, we've talked about the stand. One thing I don't like about either of the switches is the micro SD placement. It's not covered. Yours is a little bit more actually
facing sideways, whereas yours is facing downwards.
Yeah, and leaving that in there, it just seems like it could get dust in it, or it could come out. I mean, I know you have to press them in to get them to come out, but
you could accidentally press that in.
Yeah, I don't like that. That should be covered or put somewhere else with a little flap over the top of it.
Or at least mine is on its side.
You've got a ridge there, which would stop it from. But mine's
yours is just open.
Yeah, directly on the bottom. So I'm not keen on that on either of them. If we're talking about actual specs of them, it's a Switch. Other than battery life, all the Switches are identical, with the exception of the OLED, because the OLED came with 64 gig internal storage.
At a base. You can't get a 32.
No, whereas the original, this V2 and the Switch Lite all have 32 gig internal storage, so your only option is to add in a micro SD card for extra space.
As you can tell, I've not got one in.
No,
I've not had to use one just as yet.
64 gig is a decent amount of space for a Switch. Switch games are way smaller than things like Xbox or...
That's because they play mainly off the cartridge. They just do little updates.
They do, but you've got Mario Kart running off a cartridge, as you can see. And I've got Mario Kart that I bought from the store, or I think I got it free on an account at some point. And mine is still only about an 8 gig, I think, which is not huge for a big game.
No. I don't think the Mario... Well, how big is the cartridge? How big does it say the install bit is?
I don't know.
Does it say
on the back? Should say somewhere. It doesn't actually.
Oh.
I'm sure they used to.
Well, that's interesting.
No. So a lot of the games, especially on things like the Xbox, says, "Oh, you need X amount of free space to install it," but it doesn't. If you go into, I don't know, system settings, you should be able to go into like data management. Actually, I don't know where that is. I'm going to have to ignore that.
3.4.
How did you get there?
Go into software.
What, under data management? Software there. See, mine is 10.8.
Mine's 3.4.
So, and that's because you're running yours off a cartridge, and mine is a full install. Both have been updated, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so that is that. So there really isn't a huge amount more we can talk about in terms of, well, what the differences is. We're going to take a quick look around the console to see what sort of physical differences there are. So if we look on the top, I've got a little round power button. Yours is a bit more oblong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your volume buttons seem a bit chunkier than mine.
But they're smaller. They're thinner.
Yours are quite...
But they're wider.
Whereas mine are quite long, which I guess is better.
How do yours feel? See, mine protrude a lot more than yours do.
I don't like that.
What, yours? Or?
No, I don't like yours.
Okay. Both got a air vent, system fan, exhaust.
Mine seems a little bit better covered.
It does. Mine
is very open.
Very wide open. Headphone port, pretty much the same.
Mine's quite nice and neat. I don't like your one.
And mine's a bit more protected, I think.
Mine's just open.
You need to come this way a bit. Well, in terms of card flap, now I shot a video on your OLED once before, and this bit really bothered me because on a normal Switch, even with someone with no nails, you can just go and take it out. Whereas yours,
I struggle. I can't get this open without something sharp to open it. Or
yeah, didn't like that. Yours is actually, just have a look. See, yours, when you open your flap, you've got two quite long protruding sticks.
If you get me something to open it with.
Here we go. This is what I used last time, I think. And I don't like doing this, but you don't really seem to have a choice.
No, I don't. I normally use something that's a bit thinner. It's
See,
not.
You've got two quite large prongs either side here.
They're not that large.
They're larger than mine, unless mine is just a little bit worn. But mine just about clips in.
Let me have a look at the size of the cartridge area. About the same size.
Yeah. Joy-Cons, obviously the same. You've got newer Joy-Cons, but you can use...
I can use the old ones on mine.
Yeah, if we look at the very bottom of the console, pretty much identical. You've got your charging port, dock port, whatever you want to call it. You can see the bottom of my stand there.
Whereas mine's nice and smooth and you can't.
You noticed earlier that your speaker's downward face.
Mine's face slightly downwards, but they're slightly on the angle of the Switch.
They are. If you look at the bottom of it, you can see them.
But if you look at the front of it, you can also see them.
And also yours are...
longer.
Yeah, mine sit in the glass, whereas yours seem to
sit in the actual console itself.
Yeah. So that's the speaker grills. Other than that, looking around the console... Oh, what's on the back? Have you got any vents on the back? Well, your stand, I've got two vents. You haven't?
I have not.
No, I hadn't noticed that before. Like I said, Joy-Cons are identical. They come off. If we are looking at console size, apparently, although
that does look a bit bigger.
Do you reckon? Yeah, look. Whoop. Yours is, as we've worked out, about 2 or 3 mil longer. Doesn't really affect anything. Even if you've got a case for an original, it isn't going to make a lot of difference. Oh,
we're good. It's your fault.
That would have been great if that had been broken, caught on camera, wouldn't it? Well, that is pretty much my list of differences and comparisons. It is up to you what you pick. Your OLED was quite expensive, well, more expensive than a regular one, and if it bothered you, then I mean, I do like that. That looks nice.
It's very nice.
The very thin bezel is really good.
That's the reason I got it.
But it's a matter of money, I suppose, and if one of these came up stupidly a lot cheaper than one of those, then you might have gone for that.
I still don't think I would.
No?
No, we had a Switch before, and the little border around it really annoyed me. It really bugged me. Because it just doesn't look as smooth. It doesn't look...
Maybe it's because I'm used to things like 3DS and Vita, and they've got quite chunky bits all around them.
I'm used to more modern consoles, which are more sleeker and sit perfectly and fit in very nicely with what you're doing.
So what are we up to now? We're going to have a bit of a bash on Mario Kart because it's the only game that...
both of us have.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
That might help.
So you're playing with your Joy-Cons in your hand. I am...
Silent.
Here we go.
Let's go.
I'm going to play it in
Portable
mode because I am a portable fan.
Oh, wow.
So you can... Right, let's just have a quick... I mean, your screen is... You can definitely see what I'm talking about blacks.
You can just genuinely see the colours are better.
Your screen is brighter, richer colours. I mean, if you look at the Mario on the front of his... or the red on the front of Mario's cart, mine's almost dull.
Mine's quite
pushing an orange colour. and his hat, whereas yours is really bright.
Shiny.
Just find the black area. This bit down here.
Yeah, mine's very
washed out. Mine's very washed out. Yours is really crisp.
huh?
Even when the screen's dull, your screen is just brighter in general.
You can tell it's quite a dark map. You can tell that the darks aren't as dark.
No. I did just notice there, running yours off the cart took a little longer to load than running it directly off the system.
It will do.
So let's have a bit of a bash, just for the sake of video purposes.
There's 2 sounds.
Oh yeah, you don't like that, do you? Right, we'll take mine off completely. Just, L&R?
Yep.
Them ones? I'm not much of a Switch player. Right, single player. Grand Prix. 50. Who are you gonna be?
I don't know.
I'm gonna be Daisy. Oh my days, you're such a modern gamer. You have to set everything, don't you? Whereas I just go, yeah, and click through it as quickly as possible. Right, mushroom cup. And we'll play the first round.
Okay.
Let's have a look at loading times.
What you just had there was me just putting it in.
Oh, and his little controllery thing. See, mine pipped that slightly, but not anything to bother about. I mean, they're carts anyway, so they always load quick.
I've not actually played on this one yet.
Have you not? It's the first one. That didn't start very well. And as you can see, in just sort of general gameplay, you can't fault either machine. Yes, the OLED is a nicer one, but especially for me, I don't think it's a deal breaker. It was for you when you were looking at buying one.
Yes. So I got into the game then. No, I'm in second again.
Why?
Some asshole with a red shell.
It weren't me. Oh no, we're not. We could have really played multiplayer, couldn't we?
We could have done.
Because that is another thing. If you've got 2 switches, I think you can. Well, especially because we've got 2 versions of the game.
Aha.
But even if you've got one version, you can do what you used to do on the DS, where you share the game across different consoles and then multiplayer, which was always good fun.
Schnell.
Why am I really small? What is? Oh, here we go.
Someone used a
I had a zappery thing.
yeah. One of the rain clouds. How do mine keep getting like blue shells and red shells and hit me with them?
Because you're first. It's such a horrible Mario Kart thing.
What? How they just hindered the person in first?
Yeah. Oh no, a blue shell.
I hit someone with a banana. I know it was a banana because it's the only thing I believe in.
Oh, I think I just ran over my own banana.
You can easily tell who's better at this game
Why?
because I haven't got hit by anything of my own.
Yeah. I've had more Mario Kart experience than you.
And I'm still beating everyone. What do we get? Let me guess. A banana. Oh, go away, you squid ink.
I always forget the drift thing.
See, they're so far behind that didn't do anything.
I've got a blue shell coming.
You first, are you?
Yeah.
Let's change.
It doesn't. Mario Kart is like one of the only games that I'm actually pretty decent at. Better than I should be after about 30 years of playing it.
I'm in my little toy car.
I've got squid ink. you're probably going to finish just before me, I think.
Yeah, just because I'm better.
No, you're not. Don't give me that. So, we're not going to play any more on that. Well, that's not the purpose of this video. It was just, I mean, you can see, actually, just because you've got a bigger screen, if you look at these going across, they're bigger.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, what is yours? 7-inch, I think, isn't it? Whereas this is something like a 6.2, something like that. So it's not a massive, but you can definitely see that if you look where mine says Daisy, and then his says Shy Guy,
It's different.
it's bigger. It's wider and taller.
And vibrant.
And, well, the colours definitely. Just sitting here watching the two screens doing a run through, the colours on that really are crisp and sharp. So it's kind of like looking at a first gen PS Vita and a second gen, because the first gen had an OLED but the second one didn't. Although I've had both and I can't really tell the difference, but you can tell the difference when you look on the Switch. So there you go, that is us comparing a Nintendo Switch, albeit a V2, which has no difference except increased battery life, versus the OLED Switch, which has a lot of differences, screen being one of them, battery, stand, everything. Sound, I think your sound would probably, if we were to do a sound comparison, yours would be a lot better because you've got better placement of speakers and the grills are bigger. And there you go, so that's two Switches, an original Switch and a Switch OLED. I hope you like that. Like, subscribe, enjoy.